For months, the Lebanese-Israeli frontier has remained one of the Middle East's most volatile flashpoints. Despite diplomatic efforts, military exchanges, Israeli strikes, and unresolved border disputes continue to threaten regional stability. Against this backdrop, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun's visit to Washington, his first official trip to the White House as president and the first by a Lebanese head of state in nearly 2 decades, has attracted significant international attention. The visit comes as indirect negotiations between Lebanon and Israel reportedly make cautious progress under American mediation, while the humanitarian security and political consequences of continued Israeli military operations remain central concerns. So can Washington transform diplomatic momentum into a sustainable ceasefire? Will this visit produce tangible security guarantees or merely postpone another cycle of confrontation? And could this moment redefine the future of Lebanon-Israel negotiations? I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Welcome to Think Tank.
Our world is becoming unhinged.
Lebanese President Joseph Aoun has arrived in Washington for his first White House visit, where he is expected to meet President Donald Trump to discuss efforts to consolidate the Lebanon-Israel ceasefire and secure Israel's withdrawal from remaining positions in southern Lebanon. According to the Jerusalem Post, Aoun will also present a proposal outlining a gradual plan to place all the weapons under state authority, including the long-term issue of Hezbollah's arsenal. The visit comes as U.S.-backed negotiations continue over deploying the Lebanese armed forces to key border areas while preventing renewed escalation. Analysts view the meetings as a major test of whether Washington can translate recent diplomatic momentum into a more durable security arrangement. As President Joseph Aoun begins his Washington visit amid renewed diplomatic momentum, attention is turning to whether these talks can strengthen the ceasefire and reshape Lebanon-Israel negotiations in the following report.
Will this visit transform the ceasefire into a lasting agreement? For years, the Lebanese border has remained one of the Middle East's most volatile frontiers, where periods of calm have repeatedly been interrupted by renewed confrontation with Israel. Today, however, diplomatic efforts appear to be entering a different phase. President Joseph Aoun's visit to Washington comes as negotiations facilitated by the United States continue to explore ways to strengthen the ceasefire and reduce the risk of another military escalation. The discussions go beyond maintaining a temporary truce. They include the future deployment of the Lebanese armed forces in the south, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from remaining contested positions, mechanisms to monitor compliance with ceasefire arrangements, and international support for Lebanon's security institutions. Washington views these issues as interconnected elements of a broader strategy aimed at reinforcing stability while preventing renewed conflict along the border. For Lebanon, the visit represents an opportunity to secure stronger international backing for its sovereignty, strengthen state institutions, and advance long-standing demands related to Israel withdrawal. For the United States, it is also a test of whether sustained diplomacy can translate security understandings into durable political arrangements. Despite cautious optimism, significant challenges remain. Sensitive questions surrounding regional security dynamics and differing security priorities continue to complicate negotiations. Whether this visit makes a genuine turning point or simply another chapter in a long diplomatic process will depend less on the meetings themselves than on the ability of all parties to implement the commitments that follow.
The latest diplomatic developments suggest the region may be approaching a critical moment as negotiations expand beyond border issues towards broader security arrangements. Israeli military operations continue and major disputes remain unresolved. So can diplomacy succeed while violence persists? To explore whether President Aoun's visit marks a genuine turning point or another phase of crisis management, we're joined by two distinguished guests, Mr. Malik Francis, political analyst joining us from Beirut, and Dr. Irini Saeed, academic in political science, joining us from Cairo. Welcome to Qnews. I would start with you, Mr. Francis. Mr. Francis, how is President Aoun's visit perceived inside Lebanon amid the continuing Israeli military actions and, of course, political divisions?
Good evening to you, to your honored guest, and the viewers. It's an honor to be with you again. Unfortunately, I don't really see any success in the visit of President Aoun to United States because Israel is a terrorist state and doesn't respect any international laws, any treaties, or any human rights laws. As long as President Trump doesn't get tough on the Israelis and make sure they withdraw from south of Lebanon, I don't see any peace in the area. And as you know, now the problem between the United States and Iran, President Trump asked President Shara of Syria to come into Lebanon to disarm Hezbollah. This is a big mistake, very dangerous mistake, because I think President Trump is trying to start a Sunni Shiite war, and that's what the Israelis want. So I hope that President Shara will not even listen to President Trump by entering Lebanon. And President Aoun, with due respect, I support him, but his visit is not really going to bring any peace or any good things for Lebanon and the Lebanese people. And as you know, the Lebanese economy is deteriorating. Even the banking system is falling. You cannot even drive on Lebanese streets. There's no electricity, no water. So Lebanon is very, very, very in bad situation. And I hope the Lebanese government will try to solve the internal problems because they cannot fight the Israelis and they cannot liberate the south of Lebanon without international help and without President Trump being tough on the Israelis.
Dr. Saeed, President Aoun's visit is being described as the most important Lebanese-American meeting in many years. From Washington's perspective, why is this visit happening now?
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be with you. Yes, the potential of obstacles, serious obstacles facing Lebanon. In fact, since 2000, Lebanon has faced sensitive barriers, so it witnesses an important visit. It's not accidental. It comes amid sensitive circumstances and dynamic at this, especially after Hezbollah involvement in Iran's war and its conflict with Israelis in the south. By the way, it's considered first visit to Washington by the Lebanese president since 2 decades when Obama received the mission. However, the Lebanese president discussed several physical activities, chief of them the trajectories of support ceasefire and the withdrawal of Israelis. There is critical process has been floated to some extent when this visit succeeds, given the repeated tensions between Hezbollah and Israelis and also transgression on the ceasefire. The first catastrophic factor is Hezbollah absence from the deal was decided between Lebanese political regime and Israeli sponsored Washington. And also, if we want to understand the value of silence of this visit, we could describe Lebanese scene in this sensitive period, especially the coverage of Lebanese citizens are also some positive points which has been huge recently. Lebanon has suffered from Hezbollah and its behavior, which is committed to serve Iran and its war. Meanwhile, it doesn't care its own state or its citizens. As we know well, it's considered the most important proxy for Tehran in the region, reflecting real Lebanon suffrage and authority. Lebanon state is still tied to implication of the U.S.-Iran war. Lebanon itself is still as an area where regional disputes are tested.
Yes. Mr. Francis, is the United States seeking only to preserve the current ceasefire, or is it attempting to establish a broader regional security framework along the Lebanese-Israeli border?
I believe President Trump wants a picture of the Lebanese president to claim that he stopped the war between Lebanon or Hezbollah and Israel. That's all he cares about. In order to bring peace to Lebanon and to the area here in the Middle East, first, I think President Trump will have to come to an agreement with the Iranians and sign a nuclear agreement with them. Then Iran will be able to support Hezbollah here in Lebanon, or the Houthi in Yemen, or Hajj-Shabi in Iraq. Yes, Iran is causing problems. We all know it. And Iran is firing more missiles into the Gulf nations and Saudi Arabia and Jordan, more than is firing into Israel. But the problem here, I think, is Israel. Israel doesn't respect any laws, and Israel is the nation that is occupying part of Lebanon, destroyed 100 villages completely, using phosphorus bombs against international law. Drones are in the Lebanese skies 24 hours a day. Sometimes you cannot sleep. You lose internet service. You lose TV service. And they are happy to do it, unfortunately, because Israel really is an outlaw state, and as we said, that does not respect any international law. And the only one who could really force them to withdraw from Lebanon, Syria, and the Palestinian territory is President President Trump. All he has to do is to call for international conference, as President Bush, the father, that called for an international conference in Madrid in 1991-92, and forced the Israelis to recognize the Palestinian rights to exist. So President Trump, if he wants to be a president of peace, as he promised during the presidential campaign, he has to tell the Israelis, you get out of Lebanon, get out of Syria, get out of the Palestinian territory, or you are not going to receive any American aid. And now you have a few congressmen and senators who are opposing the U.S. aid to Israel, and they are trying to get their budget, and it's causing too many problems. And for the first time, we have courageous U.S. congressmen and U.S. senators who are saying enough is enough. Israel is really destroying the interests of the United States in the Middle East and all over the world. As you know, Benjamin Netanyahu was the one who lied to President Trump about attacking Iran, and within 24 hours, if we kill everyone, and they did, and the regime will collapse and there will be a civil war, then Trump and his friends will take over the oil in Iran. It didn't happen. It's going to cost us Americans about $100 billion. About 18 soldiers so far have been killed, and the world economy really is deteriorating because of the Hormuz Strait. And if now the Houthi closes Bab el-Mandab, I think the whole world economy is going to be affected by two straits that will be closed. And nobody should be allowed to close any straits because they are international waterway and there are international laws. But unfortunately, nobody respects international law. President Trump was against Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz, and he's against Iran imposing fees on the ships that using the strait. Then he said he wants to charge 20%. This is wrong. We want President Trump to work as he promised for the interest of United States and for the interest of the American people, not the interest of Israel or the oil companies.
Yes.
Enough is enough, I think. He must come to his senses and fulfill his promises to the American people and to the world.
Dr. Saeed, can negotiations produce meaningful progress while Israeli strikes and military operations continue in southern Lebanon?
It's too early to handle your important question, Andrew, that repeatedly this visit considered just a step, a complicated way, not a permanent solution or a peace. Hezbollah and Israeli are the sole factors strongly controlling in the future of the negotiation. But pushing Hezbollah from any deal considered many obstacles facing any deal or agreement. Lebanese opposition in this sensitive period remembered well several transgressions facing Lebanon or have faced Lebanon since more than 2 decades. So the Hezbollah has grown more than Lebanese army, has grown more than the Lebanese forces. At the same time, Hezbollah still has supported from large scale of Lebanese. Till that time, Lebanon has still seen Hezbollah that managed to push Israeli out of Lebanon in 2010. Hence, group is still represent a special catastrophic, problematic facing Lebanon and its safety. Another problematic concerning Hezbollah believes in a Taif agreement which has been signed in 1989. According to this agreement, the group has the right to carry the weapons. So it's so difficult or it's too early to say there is a breakthrough. But in whatever way, it's still a pivotal step. This meeting, we can consider it as a pivotal step. It's a pivotal step also towards compromise, ensuring the consolidation of Lebanese authority, Lebanese sovereignty, and reducing Israeli attacks. We can only say that we witnessed a breakthrough when Washington forced Israel to withdraw and translated the terms of the deal into results that ensure Lebanese stability.
Yes. Mr. Francis, now there are reports that indicate progress in indirect negotiations between Lebanon and Israel. So how significant is this progress compared with previous diplomatic efforts?
They're not significant because Israel refuses to withdraw from the pilot villages that they agreed on in Rome and in Washington, D.C. And Israel is continuing murdering Lebanese, destroying homes, destroying everything that even walks in 100 plus Lebanese villages. And as I said, the drones are all over the sky of Lebanon. So I don't think it's going to happen. And the Lebanese army will not be able to disarm Hezbollah. It's a joke, I think, when Israel or United States ask the Lebanese army to disarm Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is stronger than the Lebanese army. And if the Lebanese army tries to disarm Hezbollah, there will be a civil war here in Lebanon, and I don't think the Lebanese want another civil war. The only solution is for the Israelis to withdraw from south of Lebanon, United States and Iran come to an agreement, and Israel withdraw from all Arab territories, including the Palestinian, or there will be no peace. We are really wasting our time, and many innocent people are getting killed, and it's costing billions of dollars, while people are starving in Gaza, here in south of Lebanon, all over the Middle East. And I hope the Arab leaders will try to work together to be united in order to put pressure on President Trump that they gave him trillions of American dollars. He should listen to us, not the Israelis, because the Israelis are working against the interests of the United States, and it's going to hurt us Republicans in the general election. The Democrats are going to win big, and if they win the majority in the Congress. They are going against President Trump, and he's going to be impeached. And if it happens, there'll be trouble in the United States because President Trump has about 70 million radical Americans who support him 100%. And whatever he says, they listen to him. Now, we want him to work for as I said, for America, not for Israel. And he said last week on Fox News that he wants Israel to withdraw from Syria and Lebanon. Israel is not going, Benjamin Netanyahu is not going to listen to him unless he forces him by threatening to cut American aid to Israel. There is no other way. And the other solution, as I said, we need international conference to discuss the Lebanese, Syrian, and the Palestinian problems in order to bring peace to the whole Middle East. And if President Trump would do it, he may get the Nobel Peace Prize that he wants, and he has been dreaming about it. Unfortunately, now the American people, you have more than 70% are against the war, are against the president policy. And in the Republican Party, more than 60% now are against his policy, the internal and the external policy. Yes. So it's going to hurt our economy in the United States, and it's going to hurt the whole world.
Dr. Saeed, can the United States realistically persuade Israel to halt military operations while negotiations can continue? Dr. Saeed, can you hear me? Okay, I will go to you back again, Mr. Francis. Mr. Francis, what guarantees does Lebanon require before accepting any long-term security agreements or arrangements?
Israel will have to withdraw completely from Lebanon and will have to respect Lebanese territory and stop assassinating people and stop violating Lebanese territory, airspace, and they have to respect international law. And if they do, I think we will be able maybe to come to an agreement with the Israelis, because in the past the Israelis were saying to the American people and Europeans, we want peace with our neighbors, but they don't want peace. Now Israel's neighbors, Syria and Lebanon and the Palestinians, want peace. The Palestinians signed the Oslo Agreement in 1992 when President Clinton was at the White House, and it did help for a few years. Then Ariel Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel then, murdered Arafat. Then you had problems all over the West Bank and Gaza. Even now, Israel doesn't respect even the agreement that was signed in Sharm el-Sheikh, doesn't allow more food to come into Gaza. Children are starving. All the elderly people are having tough time even finding water or food. And Israel is helping the settlers in the West Bank by stealing more land from the Palestinians, and nobody's saying a word about it. The whole Arab world, the Europeans and the Trump administration are not even talking about it, or are not mentioning the poor Palestinian people on the West Bank or on Gaza. And it's time, I think, for President Trump to say enough is enough and become an American president, not an Israeli friend that he does whatever the Israelis want. And in Washington now, for the first time, the Israeli lobby is losing some of its power, because many politicians are saying enough is enough. Israel is working our own interest, getting us involved in wars that they are not our wars. So it's helping us, and we need more politicians, hopefully, to come to our side. And I believe before the November election, more politicians are going to criticize more of Israel, because in the past, if you criticize Israel, you're anti-Semitic, like it's a crime. But if you are against the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the Syrians, you are anti-Semitic too, because we are Semites. The Israelis are not the only Semites, but in the past 40 years, they have been using it for their own advantage. And we Arabs are not even talking about it. We are not defending ourselves because we are Semites. And if we go back, as the Israelis claim, God gave that land to the Jews because God promised Abraham that he will give him the land and to his descendants. We are the descendants of Abraham, and we have the same right. Enough is enough, I think. That the Israelis have been lying to everyone, misleading everyone. They want peace, we want peace, but we want a just and lasting peace.
Dr. Saeed, if you are back with us again, if you can hear me, I was asking you, can the United States realistically persuade Israel to halt military operations while negotiations continue?
No problem. It's so difficult to say yes or to reaffirm the U.S. impacting on Israel. Truly, it exists, but on limits, because several factors strongly impacting on main parties' behavior, shares of them the result of Washington-Tehran strategic war, also help to limit Hezbollah capabilities, and the most important factor concerning the reaction of Israeli interior, which impact well in Netanyahu's political future, especially his approaching from the election in the end of this year. However, some aims can Lebanon gained from this visit. Let's focus, especially not only United States, also Brussels can push by the trajectory, diplomatic trajectory. Brussels view Lebanon as a stability factor in the region that could limit illegal immigration and maintain a certain level of the calm. Also, the West has a certain positive conviction towards Lebanon. It doesn't support it as much. For example, France held several conferences to aid Lebanon, but there were no concrete results. However, France made its aid to Lebanon condition on Hezbollah delivering its weapon. This leads to further escalation, especially between Hezbollah, a Lebanese political regime, and Hezbollah, a Lebanese army, in public. We can say there is Western support for Lebanon beyond this visit. I deliberate to mention this item so it can focus or push to more diplomatic, not also Washington.
Yes. Dr. Saeed, I have another question for you. To what extent does the continued Israeli military presence in disputed areas actually undermine confidence in the negotiating process?
Surely continued attacks from Israeli weaken the credibility of mediators, especially Washington, and also dismantle the trust. Meanwhile, Israeli behavior on the South Lebanese could undermine any text deal and let diplomacy doors keep closed. I envision also there is an important item we have to mention when the Lebanese political regime has established. We have expected that the Lebanon would move to the right direction through gathering all political forces, including even Hezbollah. Unfortunately, the Lebanese president and prime minister also failed to do that in the light of Hezbollah behavior, which prioritized Iran over his own state, as I mentioned, and also Israeli forces strikes on the south. I believe on through this visit attempt to secure Lebanese citizens and pushing him out of the conflict circle. He also tried to ensure Western support, which Lebanon extremely needs for finance and investment, and also military support for army and Israel.
Yes. Mr. Francis, to what extent does Washington view the strengthening of the Lebanese armed forces as the cornerstone of any future security arrangement?
If really the United States want the Lebanese army to disarm Hezbollah and to take over the security from the Israeli and south of Lebanon, United States must help the Lebanese army by supplying maybe fighter planes, missiles, and guns, giving the Lebanese army a few cars or a few M16 rifles or whatever, it doesn't help the Lebanese army. China offered the Lebanese government in the past jet fighters, missiles. Unfortunately, the Lebanese government did not accept them because they were afraid of United States. But the Lebanese government should work for the interests of Lebanon. United States, as of today, will not dare to arm the Lebanese army because Israel will not allow them to do it. And as I said, now the Lebanese Zionist lobby, Israeli lobby, is losing clout in Washington, D.C., and it's helping us. But the Lebanese army is not well equipped. Hezbollah is more equipped than the Lebanese army, and nobody could disarm Hezbollah unless there will be a peace negotiation between Israel and Lebanon. Israel withdraws completely from south of Lebanon. Then I believe Hezbollah will try to work with the Lebanese army and the Lebanese government, and hopefully we could have peace in our lifetime. Hopefully, because we have been hearing our leaders and our people and everyone in the Middle East that we are going to have a final and lasting and just peace in the Middle East. But unfortunately, Gaza is destroyed, south of Lebanon is destroyed, part of Syria now, and now Iran. So if we have an united Arab front, we won't be where we are now. We have the Arab League is very weak, cannot do anything, cannot even help feeding the Palestinians in Gaza. Arab leaders, and most of them who have a peace agreement with Israel, they should suspend them now. Because how are you going to stop a murderer like Benjamin Netanyahu? And in the future, I think the Lebanese government with the Palestinians and Syrians should file complaints with the International Court against the Israelis, and they should pay reparation for the Lebanese, Syrian, and the Palestinians, because Israel and many Jewish organizations have been going after every company, every bank, every nation that helped the Nazis and during World War II, and they received billions, maybe trillions. And we should do the same thing, because Israel must be held accountable for its war crimes against the Palestinian, Lebanese, and Syria.
Dr. Saeed, can President Aoun secure both international support and also domestic political consensus for any future agreement?
These meetings, sponsored by Washington, are considered the base of international support for Lebanon. And as I mentioned, the movement also from Brussels also come in the frame of international support. But the issue doesn't depend on the international support only. It also depends on the behavior of the parties involved and the ongoing conflict. Also, what beyond the sovereignty of Lebanon, which has been undermined or threatened to undermine it, as academic studies informed us. It's important for any political regime or system to keep its sovereignty, to keep or to gain the support from international community. So it's very important to keep its sovereignty, as I mentioned. But some problematic have managed to weaken the Arabian system, such as ongoing conflict, which creates obvious disruption on the balance of power, as well as Israeli policies on the region, as I mentioned.
Mr. Francis, if you can give me a very brief answer to this, how central is the issue of Hezbollah's military presence to the success or failure of these negotiations? Very briefly, because we're running out of time, if you may.
Okay, Hezbollah really is a force in Lebanon, and nobody could disarm it. Israel has been trying, they cannot do it. Nobody could do it unless there is a withdrawal, Israeli withdrawal from south of Lebanon, and the Lebanese with Hezbollah leaders. And I believe in the future army, and there is no other solution. There is no, unfortunately, American or Syrian or Israeli solution to disarm Hezbollah. As I said, Iran and United States must sign a peace agreement or a nuclear agreement in order for Iran to stop supporting its allies in Iraq and Lebanon and in Yemen.
Yes. Well, our thanks go to our distinguished guests, Mr. Malik Francis, political analyst, and Dr. Irini Saeed, academic in political science. Thank you both for your valuable insights and thoughtful analysis. This brings us to the end of Think Tank. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more updates here on Qnews.